Sluaghterhouse 5 Book Analysis by Adam Kirshner. Billy Pilgrim is the main character of Sluaghterhouse 5. He was a prisoner of war in World War II, which left him scarred and traumatized. His interest in science fiction led him to create an alien species he called Tralfamadorians, who he casually claims will abduct him to be kept in an alien zoo. It should also be noted that Billy is consistently unstuck in time, meaning that he is always living different moments of his life at random times. This falling through time is illustrated in the image on the left. A silhouette of Billy Pilgrim is falling through 3 different heads: a boy, a soldier, and a man, representing the stages of his life. Different from most novels, there is not one main conflict throughout the book. Billy has already lived through everything that is happening, so there are no surprises or major conflicts for him. Some could argue that the purpose of the book is to show the destruction of Dresden. However, Billy knew this would occur, and it is not really a conflict. The overall feeling of Sluaghterhouse 5 is an adventurous science fiction story with deep-rooted anti-war messages hidden under Vonnegut's dark comedy and sarcastic tone. The science fiction aspect explores the fourth dimension and how it appears to other beings. The Amazon Book Review describes, quote, "It is about all time being always present, if only we knew or could realize it, or had a sense about time the same way we have senses for light and sound." Luttrell. Vonnegut tasked the main character with making an anti-war book. In doing so, he brings up the opposing viewpoint that war is inevitable. The character known as Harrison Starr, a movie maker, asks Billy if the book he is working on is an anti-war book. Billy tells him it is, and Starr responds by saying, "Why don't you write an anti-glacier book instead?" What he means by this is that glaciers are impossible to stop, much like war. I would have enjoyed the story more if the everyday life of the Tralfamadorians was explored deeper. To me, the most interesting parts of the novel were the science fiction parts of chapters where Billy was with the Tralfamadorians. The image of the zoo on the left from the movie differs from what I pictured in my head while reading. I was picturing something more like a scene from Rick and Morty episode shown on the right. Because Billy's captive time with the Tralfamadorians is described as being a zoo, I had pictured that the Tralfamadorians had various creatures from all over the galaxy. Billy Pilgrim led an unusually complicated life. He went to war and was captured by Germans. He eventually married and had children, and he was abducted by aliens. The image he describes about his experiences may be disturbing to some readers. If vulgar language and black comedy offends you, then Sluaghterhouse 5 is not the book for you. The biggest appeal for me was the Tralfamadorians and the way they see life. It's a big hint from Vonnegut. Their wisdom about life is shared with Billy and the readers to enhance the themes of the novel. I have always been fascinated by the idea of a fourth dimension. As 4-dimensional beings, the Tralfamadorians exist in a way that our 3-dimensional brains cannot comprehend. For them, time is a physical dimension, so humans are described like the image on the right. They see us as babies all the way to old age and everything in between. The text on the image reads, "Right now you are a 3-dimensional being, experiencing life one moment at a time. Your 4-dimensional self is an adulting snake with your embryonic self at one end and your deceased self at the other. As your 4-dimensional self, you experience every moment simultaneously." The quote that stuck with me the most is illustrated in the image shown here. Quote, "The guide invited the crowd to imagine that they were looking across a desert at a mountain range on a day that was twinkling bright and clear. They can look at a peak or a bird or cloud, at a stone right in front of them, or even down into a canyon behind them. But among them was this poor earthling, and his head was encased in a steel sphere which he can never take off. There was only one eye hole through which he could look, and welded to that eye hole was 6 feet of pipe. This is only the beginning of Billy's misery in the metaphor. He was also strapped to a steel lattice, which was bolted to a flat car on rails, and there was nothing he could do to turn his head or touch the pipe. The far end of the pipe rested on a bipod, and is also bolted to the flat car, and all Billy could see was the little hole at the end of the pipe. He didn't know he was on a placard. He didn't even know there was anything peculiar about his situation." Vonnegut 115. I agreed with most of the book review by Dennis Luttrell, especially the following statements summarizing Vonnegut's dark humor. "This is a comedy noir, a black comedy, not to be confused with film noir, a cinematic genre in which the bad guys may win, or at least they are made sympathetic. In comedy noir, the events are horrific, but the style is lighthearted. What the genres have in common is a non-heroic protagonist." This is one of the many aspects of the book review that aligns with my interpretation of the novel. There is one section of the book review I do not agree with, when they call Billy an unlikely hero, someone in the manner of unlikely heroes to come like Forrest Gump, Luttrell. I never saw Billy as a hero, and I would never compare him to Forrest Gump. I would highly recommend this book if you have the stomach for offensive language and dark humor. It will open your mind to the infinite possibilities that may be out somewhere in the universe right now. This story is not for the faint of heart or the skeptical.